The Galactic Council had ruled the stars for thousands of years. They had crushed rebellions, silenced empires, and erased entire civilizations that dared to challenge their power. But tonight, fear gripped them like never before. High Chancellor Varric stood in the Grand Council chamber, surrounded by alien leaders from across the galaxy. The air was tense, thick with unspoken dread. A deep space transmission had arrived, and it was unlike anything they had ever received. A hologram flickered to life in the center of the room. The image was distorted, filled with static. But one thing was clear: the message was not from any known species. "Identify the source," Varric commanded, his voice sharp. A technician, a reptilian xylari, frantically scanned the data. His claws trembled as he read the results. It matches an ancient language, one that hasn't been used in 3,000 years. The council chamber fell silent. Every being in the room knew what that meant. Only one species had spoken that language, a species that should have been extinct. "That is impossible," growled Supreme Strategist Drill, his massive insectoid frame twitching with unease. Humans were destroyed. Their world was wiped from the records. They cannot be here. The technician swallowed hard. And yet, the signal is real. The static cleared slightly, and then came the message. A deep mechanical voice echoed through the chamber. "We remember." A shiver ran through Varric's spine. Those two words carried the weight of vengeance. Councillor Vera, a pale-skinned Aetheri, leaned forward. "This must be a deception. Some lost species pretending to be them." "Play the full message," Varric ordered. The hologram flickered again. More words followed, spoken in old Earth languages. The translation appeared on the screens around the chamber. "For 3,000 years, you believed us gone. You erased our history. You silenced our voices. But we survived." The chamber erupted into chaos. Some counselors shouted in disbelief, others in sheer panic. "They're bluffing," someone yelled. But then, another alarm rang out. A new alert from deep space sensors. Varric turned to the technicians. "What now?" The xylari technician's scales turned pale. "Multiple unidentified ships, emerging from deep space. Their energy signatures are unlike anything we have seen." A massive screen showed the feed from the Deep Space Observation Station. The image zoomed in. Sleek, dark ships glided silently through the void. They bore no official markings, no known identification, but on the hulls, barely visible through the darkness, was an insignia, a long-forgotten symbol from an extinct race. The symbol of Earth. Panic spread through the council. Humanity had returned, and the Galactic Council had no idea what they had become. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council was in chaos. Some members argued, some panicked, and some refused to believe the impossible. But one thing was clear: humanity had returned. Chancellor Varric clenched his fists as he watched the silent, black ships on the screen. "How many ships?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The xylari technician's fingers danced across the console. His reptilian eyes widened in shock. "Hundreds. No, thousands. And more keep appearing. They are coming from deep space, from the void beyond our maps." Strategist Drill slammed a clawed fist on the table. "We need to mobilize the fleet immediately. If this really is humanity, we must strike first." Councillor Vira turned her glowing eyes toward him. "Are you insane? We don't even know their strength. If they survived for 3,000 years, what else have they done?" A deep, distorted signal cut through their argument. The human transmission was not over. The cold, mechanical voice echoed once more. "You erased Earth. You thought it was over. But you were wrong." The lights in the chamber flickered. Static ran across every screen. And then, the war alarms blared. A new report flashed across the displays. One of the Council's outer colonies had gone silent. No distress signals, no defense transmissions, nothing. Varric turned to the military commander. "What happened?" The officer's face was pale. We don't know. The colony was fine 5 minutes ago. Now it's just gone. No wreckage. No survivors. Drawl hissed, his mandibles clicking in frustration. Impossible. We would have detected an attack. Unless, Vera's voice was barely a whisper, unless their technology has advanced far beyond ours. The chamber fell silent. Humanity was not simply back. They had become something else. Varric took a deep breath. Open a channel to them. Now. The technician hesitated. Sir, I don't think they want to talk. Varric narrowed his eyes. Then what do they want? The human signal returned. This time, there was no voice, only coordinates, a location deep within the Council's territory. Drawl read the numbers and froze. That's the homeworld of the High Chancellor's species. Varric's blood ran cold. The meaning was clear. The humans were choosing their first target, and they were about to make the entire galaxy tremble. A heavy silence settled over the Galactic Council chamber. The humans had sent coordinates. A target. Chancellor Varric's mind raced. Why that planet? Why now? Strategist Drawl stood, his mandibles twitching. We cannot wait. If the humans attack the High Chancellor's homeworld, it will send the entire empire into chaos. We must strike first. Counselor Vera's glowing eyes narrowed. Strike first. Are you sure that's even possible? The room fell into uneasy silence. Then a new alert flashed across the screens. Every holo display in the chamber flickered, the live transmission from the targeted planet. The council members turned, their eyes locking onto the screen. The image appeared. It was dark. Only static filled the air. Then, a whisper, a distorted voice, barely audible through the interference. They're here. The static faded, revealing a terrified Silari officer. His breathing was ragged. His scales glistened with sweat. His wide, reptilian eyes darted frantically. Behind him, a shadow moved. Please, the officer gasped. We don't know how they got past our defenses. We never even. Silence. The image cut out. The signal was gone. The chamber erupted into panic. Varric turned to the technician. Get that feedback. Now. I can't. The technician's claws fumbled over the console. The entire planet's communications just stopped. Drawl's mandibles clicked rapidly. What do you mean stopped? The technician's face paled. I mean, they've cut it off completely. No signals. No transmissions. As if the entire planet is no longer there. Vera inhaled sharply. No, that's not possible. A fresh alert blared. A single message from a distant scout ship stationed near the system. The planet is gone, not destroyed. Just missing. Varric's blood ran cold. Missing. They didn't bomb it. The technician whispered. They didn't invade. They erased it. A terrible realization settled over the council. This was not revenge. This was not a war. This was a warning. And humanity had only just begun. The council chamber was deathly silent. Shock, fear, disbelief. No one spoke. No one moved. The High Chancellor, his 4 eyes wide with terror, finally found his voice. How can an entire planet just vanish? Strategist Drawl's mandibles clicked nervously. This is impossible. Our records show no weapon capable of off. Counselor Vera slammed her fist against the table. This is what we feared. The humans. They have surpassed us. And now, they are showing us just how powerful they have become. A communication officer hesitated before speaking. Should we surrender? The word surrender had never been uttered in the history of the Galactic Council. And yet, no one objected. A new alert flashed. Incoming transmission. Human frequency. Everyone held their breath as the screen lit up. This time, there was no static, no distortion. A human stood before them. Tall, unmoving, dressed in black. His cold eyes stared directly at the council. "Greetings, esteemed rulers of the Galactic Council," he said, his voice unnervingly calm. "We have waited a long time for this moment." The High Chancellor's voice shook. What do you want?" The human smiled. "Justice." Drawl leaned forward. You destroyed that planet. What kind of justice is that?" The human raised an eyebrow. "Destroyed." He shook his head. "No, we did something far worse." The council members felt a chill. The human continued. 3,000 years ago, you erased Earth from the stars. You thought you had ended us. But humans are resilient." He leaned in closer. "You erased Earth. Now we erase you." The High Chancellor trembled. "Please, we didn't know humanity would return. We never expected." "Expected?" The human chuckled. "You expected us to die out, like some forgotten mistake. But now, the mistake is yours." The screen flickered. Coordinates appeared. "These are the next 10 planets we will take." The room erupted into chaos. "No, this is madness. We will negotiate." The human simply watched. Then, with an eerie calm, he spoke again. "You wanted humanity erased from history. Now history will forget you." The transmission ended. The council sat in stunned silence. They had no choice. For the first time in history, the Galactic Council would have to beg. The chamber was filled with desperate whispers. Fear hung in the air like a heavy fog. "We must stop them." "But how? We are powerless against them." "Then we must beg. We must offer them everything." The High Chancellor, his face pale, slammed his fist on the table. Silence. The council fell quiet. He took a deep breath. "There is only one option left. We must speak to their leader. We must negotiate." Councillor Vira hesitated. "What if they refuse?" The Chancellor's voice was grim. "Then we are doomed." A communication officer stood nervously. "We have decoded their last message. We now know the source of the transmission." The council members turned toward him. "They are waiting for us." The contact attempt. The Galactic Council's finest diplomats gathered in the secure transmission room. This was their last chance. "Initiate contact," the High Chancellor ordered. The screen flickered. No response. "Try again." Another flicker. Then the image stabilized. The human leader appeared once more. His expression was unreadable, his eyes cold. "Ah, I was expecting your call." The High Chancellor swallowed his pride. We wish to talk." The human leaned forward slightly. "Talk." He smiled. 3,000 years ago, you did not wish to talk. You only wished to erase." The Chancellor's voice wavered. "That was a mistake." The human's expression darkened. "Yes. And now you pay for it." Councillor Vira quickly interjected. "We are willing to negotiate. Name your demands. We will do anything." A long silence followed. Then the human spoke. "Anything." The High Chancellor nodded. "Yes. Just spare us." The human's cold smile returned. "Very well," he said. "Then listen carefully, because from this moment forward, the Galactic Council no longer rules this galaxy." The council members froze. "You will dissolve your empire. Every world under your control will be freed. Every species you oppressed will be given their independence." Vira's voice trembled. "That would mean the end of the council." The human leaned in. "Yes, and that is your only path to survival." The Chancellor's hands clenched into fists. "And if we refuse?" The human's eyes flashed. "Then the next planet vanishes, and then the next, and the next, until history forgets you ever existed." The council chamber erupted in chaos. Some shouted in anger, others in terror. "Absurd. We ki anotagre. There must be a way." The human watched them, calm, emotionless. Then he said 3 simple words. "You have 1 hour. and the screen went black. The Galactic Council chamber was in turmoil. Heated arguments echoed off the walls, panic creeping into every voice. We cannot surrender everything. If we don't, we are finished. There must be another way. The High Chancellor sat motionless, his face pale, his mind racing. 1 hour, that was all the time they had left before humanity decided their fate. Councillor Vira turned to him. Chancellor, we must decide. Do we dissolve the Empire, or do we fight? The Chancellor clenched his fists. Fight. With what? Our fleets are dust. Our defenses are useless. Humanity erased a planet like it was nothing. A military commander stood. Then we must find another path. Perhaps a deception. The room fell silent. A trick. A false surrender. Vira's voice was sharp. Do you really believe we can deceive them? They survived for 3,000 years in the shadows. They planned this moment for centuries. If we lie, they will know. The Chancellor exhaled slowly. Then we have no choice. We must negotiate, but we must find a way to retain some power. His gaze darkened. Perhaps we can give them what they want, but on our terms. The final plea. The communication screen flickered. The human leader's face reappeared. Time's almost up. Have you made your choice? The High Chancellor straightened his posture. We are willing to dissolve the Empire. The human's expression remained unreadable. Good. Then your first act will be to free the conquered worlds. Vira hesitated. That will take time. You have days, not years. The Chancellor tried to remain calm. And what happens to us? The human's eyes narrowed. The Council. You will step down. Permanently. The Council chamber fell into stunned silence. That is impossible. We cannot allow this. We are the foundation of order. The human leaned forward. You were the foundation of oppression. And now you will fall, just as you once tried to make us fall. Vira tried again. Surely there is another way. We can work together. The human leader gave a slow, cold smile. Work together. His voice was quiet. You only wish for that now, when the power is no longer yours. The Chancellor swallowed hard. We do not wish for war. The human smile faded. Then do as we say, or this war ends in fire. The screen went black. The impossible choice. The Chancellor rose from his seat, his hands trembling. This is the end of the Council as we know it. Vira whispered, perhaps, this is justice. The Chancellor's eyes darkened. No, this is survival. He turned to his advisors. Begin the transition. Announce the dissolution of the Empire. But quietly, we will not vanish. We will rebuild. We will return. His voice was low, full of quiet fury. This is not the end. Somewhere in deep space, the human fleet waited. They had won this war. But they knew one thing for certain. This was not the last battle. The galaxy had changed forever. The Galactic Council's final transmission spread across the stars. The Empire had fallen. The once mighty rulers of the galaxy had surrendered to the one species they had tried to erase. But the moment was not met with celebration, only silence. The oppressed worlds hesitated, unsure if this was a trick. Could the Council be trusted? Could humanity? And then, one by one, planets rose in defiance of their former masters. The chains of oppression were broken. Revolts turned into liberation. Armies surrendered or joined the cause. The age of the Galactic Empire was over. The last meeting. The High Chancellor stood in his private chamber, staring at the planet below. His empire, his life's work, was gone. Behind him, Councillor Vira entered, her face grim. It's over. The Chancellor exhaled. For now. Vira stiffened. You still think we can take it back? His hands tightened into fists. Not today. Not tomorrow. But one day. Vira shook her head. You still don't understand. The humans, They aren't just stronger than us. They are patient. They waited 3,000 years for this. The Chancellor turned, his eyes cold. Then we will learn patience too. We will disappear. We will rebuild. And when the time is right, we will strike. Virus sighed, looking toward the endless expanse of space. And if they are watching, if they know we will try again. A small smile crept onto the Chancellor's lips. Then we will teach them that we remember too. The Human Council. Aboard the human flagship, the victorious fleet watched the Galactic Council dissolve. A quiet tension filled the air. General Rhodes leaned forward. It's done. The Empire is no more. Across from him, Commander Elias nodded. For now. Rhodes exhaled. You think they'll come back? Elias chuckled. Of course they will. They'll never forget this humiliation. But neither will we. He turned to the holographic map of the galaxy. We need to prepare. Humanity must be ready. For whatever comes next. Rhodes smirked. Then we wait, just like we did before. The stars outside burned brightly. A new era had begun. But in the shadows, war was already brewing once again.